Welcome again this week to this week's Dog Talk with head coach Chuck Kriese. Before we get started, just a reminder, everyone please leave your microphones on mute for this. If you have any questions as coach is talking, feel free to use the chat feature here. You can either put it in the group chat for everyone, or if you'd like, you can also direct message me via the chat feature, and I will make sure to get those questions in. To get started, Coach, why don't you give us a little bit of background on your history as a head men's tennis coach, both at Clemson and here?
Okay, first of all, hey, Millage, I don't have my headphones here, so I can hear you, but barely. So if I get rambling, you're going to have to shut me down, man.
Understood, Coach.
Are you okay? You're used to doing that, aren't you?
Okay. No, I enjoy listening to you, Coach. It's all good.
So I can barely hear you, but I think you want me to talk about what's going on, the history so far.
Yes, sir. Your history as a coach.
What we're up to.
Yes, sir. Your history as a coach, like your background as a tennis coach.
Okay. Well, I've done it a few years now. Something like 13,000 days. I've figured it out. 14,000 days. 13 or 14,000 practices. You think I could get it right. And, but yeah, I started Clemson in 1975 coaching, and actually Tennessee Tech before that. I coached 1 year as an assistant tennis coach, and then I actually was an assistant track coach for my second year in my master's program. So I did that. And then, of course, I was 33 years at Clemson. And I was very fortunate. I thought that I was done with college coaching. I'd put in my 10,000 days and basically it's done. It's a long story about why, but I did not think I was going to get back into it again. And then my wife, she is from Charleston. We went to Thailand I worked for two years for the Southeast Asia Tennis Federation, and I coached the national team there. And we were in Thailand. I traveled a lot during those 2 years, all over Southeast Asia. I gave coaching seminars in Southeast Asia, actually in 7 countries, everywhere from India to China to Taiwan to New Zealand, Australia, Indonesia, and all over Southeast Asia, because my job there was to try to put together a great training program. And we created a training center where we could bring the kids in and coaches and do certification for the coaches and then training for the youngsters. And the first year and a half, pretty much that's what it was. But we had 2 or 3 really kids starting to bloom. So I spent my last part of that stint traveling all over Europe to tournaments. And then we came to the United States and traveled a lot as well. And I brought my family back at that time. After the stint that we lived in Thailand, because I was traveling a lot in the States, I brought them back here. Very fortunate. I had a young lady win 4 Grand Slam titles. She won Wimbledon singles and doubles, the only Asian in history to ever win a Grand Slam. She won Wimbledon in singles and doubles, junior ranks. And then she won the U.S. Open and French Open as well. And we had another young lady that just was a late bloomer, and she is still blossoming and doing quite well. It's made the top 100 in the world and doing quite well. And then the young men that we had did well, but for the most part, they were a little bit later maturing. And so that's the bottom line is that it was my first experience really coaching at professional level and amateur level at a high level with young ladies. And it was a great experience, but the Asian kids were great. And but anyhow, the long story short, I worked up in College Park, Maryland, basically as a home-based coach for 3.5 years. And my wife, after about 3.5 years of fighting the traffic and everything, said, "Get us out of here. I want to go back to Charleston and be closer to my mom." And we came back, and of course I wasn't even thinking of college coaching again, Millage, and to all of you Citadel fans there. And then when the Citadel opened, I go, holy cow. I always said if I ever had a chance to coach at a place where we didn't have to, I don't want to get too much into this, and people could ask me later, but college athletics is tough enough. But with tennis players, it is much more than just coaching a team. You have to coach every individual like they are an individual team themselves. You have to coach every player like the 10 members of a player's team is their emotional performance, their mental strategies, their forehand or backhand, their physical fitness or nutrition. It's very, very complicated just with one player. And when I was traveling around with those, I was traveling around for those years with after Clemson, and I'd done a lot of coaching in the summer times and of course the camps over the year. But you must engage to a deep, deep level. You must engage to a deep, deep level. So when the opportunity came open again to coach a team, especially someplace like the Citadel, I jumped on it. I was hoping I would get the job, and I was very fortunate to get the job. And I'm because I grew up in Indiana. I was a basketball player, and I always wanted to coach high school or college basketball. And then I had started doing a little bit better in tennis. So I ended up getting a tennis scholarship, and it sort of went in that direction. But in my mind, I've always coached this sport like it was a team sport, and I've enjoyed the team camaraderie. So the long story short, in how I came to the Citadel, it was my wife and wanting to be close to her mother. We had 5.5 wonderful years before she passed away last year. It was fantastic to have our children here. I have a 16, 14, 12-year-old right now. Now I have 3 sons to raise, so I have 6 children. So it's been an exciting journey. We have the children. We're getting to raise them actually in Somerville, which is fantastic for our family. But I get to come to the Citadel every day and work with these guys who are high achievers. They all have high achievement needs. If you don't last very long, and everybody out there knows that. You've got to do the work. But the long story short about tennis is that it's like if you had a whole team of pitchers who were different, all different personalities, or gymnastics, maybe divers. I think divers are interesting people, but it's like coaching 10 different teams. And the dynamic is fantastic, but at the Citadel, they don't get caught up in stupid stuff. I always used to tell parents and the athletes I recruited and had at Clemson, I said, probably you're going to have one semester where, things aren't going well and you're going to want to quit. But usually they would get in their own way a lot. And I'd have players, golly, almost every semester you would lose a guy for a semester or something. And it's really tough because they're transitioning from a place of playing tennis to being a tennis player. There's a big difference. It's just like you can go to school every day of your life but never be a student. And you can attend the Citadel but never engage in being a cadet student. It's about the engagement. So that is the story. And I'm at this stage in my life, I enjoy embracing this opportunity to give whatever I have inside of me left that the good Lord has put in. I've got to put it back out there, and I've got to, and I know this is my mission right now for as long as I can stay healthy and as long as the good Lord gives me to work with these young people. And it's a fantastic mission. So, golly, I wanted to say this as we get started, Millage, and to all of you who may be watching this, is that I want to do this right. I really want to do it right. It is much more than, there are some shortcuts you can take, especially in tennis recruiting. it is really, really strange. All I can tell you is a lot of coaches spend all their summers in Europe and trying to recruit players from all over the world because it's an international sport, and that's okay. That's fine. There's some wonderful. We have a young man from Great Britain on the team who's just had a fantastic first year, and most of our players are from the South and from South Carolina. But the point is, the sport, you can take shortcuts and recruit players in and out, in and out, in and out. We really have to have the right players here at the Citadel. They've got to be able to embrace, of course, the core part of it, the cadet, student, athlete part of it. They've got to engage. And I try to preach to them every day that if you're not trying to be a diamond hunter and trying to find those people who are special and people who've been through so much, you know, in the military and even in wartime and things, but there's so many diamonds if you'll just look for them here. So they have to embrace that. The cadet, the student part is another part that is, what can I say? They won't let you fail here if you are engaged. They make you do the work. Our guys are beneficiaries of the effort that the small classes and the intense environment that makes you go to class, that makes you be on time, and just simple stuff that used to drive me crazy, frankly, when I was at the bigger school. You know, when I was at Clemson, it would drive me crazy that people would bail out. My young guys, you can preach to them and preach to them and preach to them, but how could I put this, Millage? Basically, between the years 18 and 22, or 16 and 22, or 16 and 25, the kids are walking spinal cords, right? whatever they feel is what they do. And it is really tough. But at the Citadel, you have so many things that are all of the silly, stupid things that really hurt the kids that don't need to. They're taken, you know, they're just out of the equation before they even start. You know, there's challenges, but so that's the history. And I've been, let's see, it's 49 years now I've been coaching tennis. I actually had a job my sophomore year in college, working for the Indianapolis Park Department, making $2 an hour, and loved every experience I had. And so I've been teaching tennis a long time, but this is year 41 as a head or assistant coach, and 42 if you count the coaching track too. So I used to teach classes at Clemson my first 11 years. And actually, Millage, can I throw that in there? Okay,
Sure,
I
Coach.
actually had your father in a health 101 class at Clemson in one of my earlier years. And I recognized your name and from all the way back then. But I taught classes for 11 years. And then actually I taught leadership classes for 4 or 5 years in the later years there, but then they didn't want coaches teaching because of, you know, the necessary or the potential of stuff happening that, you know, kids getting grades they didn't earn or whatever, but that's, you know, so anyhow, Millage, that is a short history. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, 3-sport athlete all the way through high school, four letters across country, 4 in tennis, 2 in basketball, and crazy about basketball growing up in Indiana. And actually, I only got into it, folks, because my coach said, you need to play some tennis in the summertime. A basketball coach, you need to play. It'll help your defense, and it's one-on-one. It'll really help your competitive edge. And we had a park across the street from our house, and so I never had a tennis lesson, just went to the park every day and competed. And so that's pretty much how that got going. So anyhow, thanks. That was I know that we've got a little bit of time today, so that's why I'm being long-winded, and I know you've got more questions.
Yeah, we do. In your 49 years of doing tennis, This had to be one of the most interesting years for you. Your 2020 season was cut short,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but you've got a great group of guys coming back. Talk about that group of guys you have. Zvonko Bensidic, you've got Will Graham, Phil Quinn, a bunch of guys like that coming back. Talk about that returning group.
We've got 6 out of our top 8 guys coming back, actually, and we've got a lot to look forward to. And I say this because, look, we lost 3 great guys. Jack Pirates, Jack from Raleigh, North Carolina. I guess I can best say this. He made everybody around him better because he engaged so deeply in what he did each and every day. And he was an MVP every year. He got it one year, but every year because he made everybody better around him. Secondly, Noah Nawabi was our team captain last year, and holy cow. There's a book called The Willful Child. I think it's, let's see, what is it? Parenting the Willful Child. I think it's James Dobson years ago, and it says, mold the will, but never break the spirit. This young man is going to do something great. Noah Nawabi is. He straight 4 point. I think he had 1 B in the whole time he was here. Was doing pre-med. He wants to be a brain surgeon. Good Lord has blessed him with a great mind. But I always told him, I said, our goal is to mold your will, do the right things. I would never break your spirit, though. I want you to be the stallion that you are. And I've always told the players, too, and this is, I want the Citadel people to understand this. This is something that is quite important that I've learned over the years in coaching, that any strong-willed athlete, okay, I always say the joke side is it's easier to tame a roaring tiger than to inspire a timid pussycat. You want people who are strong-willed to be leaders. But doing right things often comes in doing it the wrong way at first. Doing right things, you have to learn how to do right things the right way. But a strong-willed person, before they become compliant to the wishes that you have for the team and everything, listen, it's very important. They're often defiant before they're compliant. The strong-willed athlete, the strong-willed person. You have to mold the will of that person, but not break the spirit. One of the things that I love, if this young man had gone a lot of other places, I don't know what would have happened. He's gifted. He's got a lot to him, but he's going to do something special. I just am very proud of him, and not just but he is the kind of person that people will follow. He has the charisma. The good Lord gave him the best mind. He was a great athlete. But if we had a match coming down to the wire, you have him on the court, and he'd be the guy that's the quarterback or the pitcher. And along with that, heck yes, it was challenging coaching that young man. But man, I loved every bit of it, because those are the type of people that make the greatness comes from. Jack, for his great things that he did, but Noah is one of the more challenging athletes that I've ever coached. Another person, at Clemson, I had a Jay Berger who got to 7 in the world. He's in charge of United States tennis, men's tennis for the whole U.S. He was Rookie of the Year on the Pro Tour. He was Player of the Year on the Pro. He was challenging. But it's not, you never allow people who are challenging, you never spoil them. You must address stuff all the time. So you get worn out. But at the same time, you mold the will, don't break the spirit. Don't ever break the spirit of a strong-willed person. And I think that we goof that up sometimes. We try to mold them I got a good saying, and then I'll move on to Willie too. When you have a Ferrari, it's going to be in the shop with the hood up a lot, and that's as easy as to say, but my golly, what a reward in the end, because he led us in a lot of ways, but academically great as well. Now, Willie Van Zyl, he came from South Africa. I found him at an academy where he was training and playing down in Florida. The kid was this big, strong, strapping kid, good athlete, ran well. He just, all of the traits there. And he's going to just do great out there, because I don't think that he's ever met a stranger. He was here on campus the first month, and he came up to me. I think it was to basketball. So he says, "Oh, Coach, by the way, I think I might be able to have dinner at the president's house." I what? Wait a minute. You're knob. You're gonna? He go, "Yeah, I met the president's wife at the basketball." I said, "How'd you do that?" I go, "What?" I'm saying, "Oh, by the way, we pull into a town, and all these people knew him. He's just a likable human being that gets along with everybody, and he just was great to have on the team as well, and he won a lot of good matches. And so those guys, we'll lose those guys. We've got Gavin Stewart was our number one player last year as a junior. So he'll have his hands full fighting and defending that. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of upside, and wow, mold the will, don't break the spirit of that young man. He would be a quarterback on a football team, or he's a closing pitcher more than a starting pitcher. It's going to be interesting what's going to happen there. But close behind, Will Graham from Greenville. Now, both of those young men, their grade point averages are up over 3.9. And Will Graham is, if there's a kinder person, I don't know, but he was really coming on at the end as well. Philip Quinn will be our captain next year. Philip Quinn will be a junior. He's from Dallas, Texas. And Philip making great grades and doing what he needs to do. Our freshman from Great Britain is Zavanko Bensetic. And Z went from being scared out of his mind about the Citadel and everything to really coming through, and struggled in school the first semester, and then he got a 3.7 this semester, the second semester, or 3.69, 3.7, but really, really, and then I think he won like 8 matches in a row at the end, right? You were doing the stats. And beside those, as we've got a dark horse really improving, like crazy, Josiah Shainbland from Raleigh. This guy works at his tennis all the time. Whenever there's a free moment, before practice, after practice, he's hitting serves, he's doing all the things he needs to do. 4.0 guy, but he has high achievement needs, and he's really coming along. Really, really coming along there. And I don't want to leave out any of the other guys. I've got a lot of hope for a couple of the other freshmen. We have Josh Wallen. Josh is from Myrtle Beach, and what an athlete. I recruited him because heck of an athlete, very good young man, 4.0 student, doing well there, and he's improving like crazy. At least he tells me this summer, so I keep up with the guys. They're telling me they're improving like crazy. And got Leo Deploy. Leo's father played at University of Tennessee, and actually I coached against him, and he still remembers the match when we had a close one against Tennessee, and so we've been able to talk a lot. But he came last year, as a walk-on, and he's from Louisiana, and holy cow, this guy has a live arm, and he can hit it. Okay, and he's a Ferrari, and we're building the steering wheel, and there's going to be some interesting stuff coming out. And then we've got, we've got some guys. Brett Folsom from Lexington, Kentucky is a good left-handed player who's getting better and better. I don't want to forget Luke Metz. I always call him Meats because M-E-E. But his brother just graduated from Citadel the year before last, but Luke's 4.0 student, and he's doing a great job. And then we have some other younger guys I want to mention. TJ, excuse me. I wanted to mention Joseph Desser, and then our Tripoon from Boston. His family, he's a young guy. His last name Jala, like a Jala, and he's came all the way down here from Boston. And off the top of my head, I'm trying not to leave anybody out. Everett Barkley, holy guacamole. Okay, so Everett, all right, at the Citadel program, and I want everybody to know, look, at Clemson, I didn't cut a player for 23 years. I had 3 teams going. I had the orange team, white team, work team, and I had a system where next man in, and they were always competing, so it was always, I had 3 guys who became All-American that started out like number 13 or 14 on the team. So the athletic director, when I was hired, Larry Leckenby, he asked me, what do you need and things. I said, well, there's needs, wants, and wishes. And I want to build a program that lasts a long, long time. Having a team that is good, that's in and out, rah, 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 everybody forgets, within 6 months, and it's good for the players. But the bottom line, I would like to build a program. I said, needs, wants, and wishes. I said, our needs, I need to be able to have a system where I said, look, I cannot recruit championship team. You can't do it. You have to groom the players. With trying to recruit, I don't want to say the liabilities at the Citadel, the challenges at the Citadel, being a military school, trying to build a culture, rebuild a culture that in the sport of tennis, all that you need to do academically, the limited amount of time that the youngsters sometimes have, the amount of discipline. You cannot just recruit guys in from anywhere and say, okay, we got great tennis players, we win a championship. I said, you've got to build a program that has a culture that is ingrained in it where players can develop. In order to do that, we have to be able to have a next man in mentality where if players, look, tennis is a hard sport. Players get moody. But if somebody gets moody and pulls the plug, sorry, next man in. Sorry, Joe, it's not the Joe show today. We got next guy in. And you have to have that in order for players to improve. They have to be looking over their shoulders saying, I don't want that guy to catch me. Everybody has to have something to go to, a mountaintop to go to. But everybody has to have a little bit of worry of the person chasing them down. I had this down to a fine art at Clemson where we went 13 years and only lost 2 ACC matches. I'm not trying to brag, but we were dominant for 13 years. And what happened was there's a couple things. They changed the rules where you weren't allowed to practice more than 20 hours a week, and you only had so many matches, and that limited the development of players. So most coaches just went to a recruiting base only. In other words, you bring in the talent, you put them on the court, you hope they win. But the development part of it was always beautiful in that I would see these great careers come from a player that started 14 on the team and end up, Kent Kinnear, I'm going to brag on that guy. At Clemson, he started out number 12 or 13 on the team. I got him from Indiana. He was only 70 in the country. He was a high school basketball player, wonderful human being, worked and worked and worked. He never went backwards. But the long story short, and I'm only saying this to all of you out there because I want you to understand my philosophy on this, okay? He never went backwards. But he started 13 on the team, ended up being a 2-time All-American, played in 37 Grand Slams on the Pro Tour for 11 years. He is now in charge of men's tennis for the USTA. And was a wonderful human being, never, ever high maintenance. Never went backwards. If he won, he got confidence. If he lost, he stayed the same and moved on. So I told here at the Citadel when I came in, and this is important, I'm so glad I can express this. I told the athletic director, we can't just recruit and expect to win championships for long periods of time. I said, if you'll be patient, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this, but I need to have a next man in situation. At Clemson, if you made a 5:15 mile, you could be on the team. At the Citadel here, the bar is 5:25 mile, which is very fair. Anybody that's run out there, they know that's fair. I used to run in high school, so I know what the times are. I know how the splits are. I know how to do this. I know how to train the players. But every one of the guys know if I can make a 5:25 mile, I can be on the Citadel tennis team. If I can't make a 5:25 mile, if we've had a couple young men come back out of shape and they didn't play anymore. They didn't play anymore. They come back out of shape and don't do the work. That is the first rite of passage. And yes, we work with kids. We work with them and help them to get the time. We help them to work through the processes. The long story short, here at the Citadel, what we have, AD told me, he goes, look, I said, that's what I need if I want to build a great program. He said, yeah, we can do that. We don't have any issues there. So I have 14 guys on the team, finished in 15 actually. And every guy contributes. Every guy knows their place. Our top 4 guys are called the blue team, and we're always competing. And the next 6 or 8 guys to number 12, there's the gray team. And then I have the Red Raiders, who are always putting pressure on the other guys trying to get better. So that's why I've got the guys that we have on the team. I was able to mention everybody. And if you don't mind, can I turn around and look at my blackboard to just make sure I don't want to leave one person off there? Okay, I got the 3 seniors. I got, oh my golly, Garrett Siebold. I'm so glad to turn around. Garrett, if you're watching this, I am so sorry. I almost forgot you. Garrett has been on the Red Raiders for 3 years. He'll be a senior next year. 4.0 guy. He brings it every day, and he makes everybody around him better. I love the guy. But I didn't want to forget Garrett. I got Josiah, Brett, Philip, Luke, yes, Josh, Z, TJ, Leo, Joseph Everett, and then our freshmen who are coming in. I think, Millage, you're going to get everything out for those guys, right?
Yes, sir. We're still waiting on one guy to get his stuff in, but yep, here hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be putting out a release.
We had a heck of a recruiting year. I'm really excited. We got 3 boys from South Carolina, 1 boy from Arkansas, 1 boy from Maryland, and 1 boy is walking on from Chicago. And we've got a great group coming in, and they know what it's about. The culture is here now. The culture is here. Can I talk a little bit about this shutdown? I'm not going to whine. I promise you, folks, I'm not whining, but we had it rolling. We won 5 out of our last 6 matches. But here's what I knew. Okay, from the day I came in, I said, look, we got to build the culture, number 1. Number 2, teach the guys how to compete the right way. Build the culture so they know what it's all about, and everything from their schoolwork to cadet, student athlete to everything. Build the culture, learn how to compete the right way. Then listen, this is important. Nobody understands this. You've got to learn how to lose the right way. You really do. There's 2 really bad ways of losing. That's when you think small and you act small and you crawl in a hole, basically. You back down. And the other way is to try to overplay and do sensational things. You have to learn how to lose by playing at your red line, the red line. If anybody saw Ford versus Ferrari out there, the red line, you got to push 7,000 RPM. Well, every player performs their best in any sport if they know when they're at 6,500 RPM for them. So if you perform too low RPM or too much, those are bad ways to lose. If you back down or if you blow your engine, you've got to learn how to embrace and to own those moments. So you've got to learn how to the culture, compete the right way. You've got to learn how to lose the right way, then win the right way. Then you win championships. We were out in Texas at we were playing University of Texas Dallas, a very, very good D3 team, very well coached at their place. And our guys, we once we played a 9-point match. We won, I think, 9-0. But here's the point: every match was contested. They weren't just get ahead and stay aheads and we're better. Every match was contested. Their ball striking was plenty good. They had us at their place. Our guys, typical Will Graham at number 2, was down 5-2 in the third set, 2 service breaks, and he wins 5 straight games. These are the things as a coach, to be clutch at the end of the tennis match is worth everything. A lot of players are good, but being clutch is more important than being good sometimes. You have to be good at the end in tennis. And for Millage, if I make excuses when I come into your office, I usually say, hey, man, we missed too many free throws at the end of the game, right? We missed one front end of 1-and-1s at the end of the game. So, that was, so anyhow, the team's coming, and I'm excited about this year. Dang it, I hope we get to play this fall. I'm going to take the guys to the ITA regionals to get into the national indoors this year. I'm going to take them. We've developed the Southern Conference individual tournament, and then I take them to things that they need for where they're at for their level of play, so I'm pretty excited about that. And we've got a full slate ready to go. And Millage, I'm going to throw in there now, and I'm going to brag a little bit because I can brag on our academic, your wife, Miss Cassie. They deserve the credit. My team got a 3.72 grade point average during the season. And it always happens this way. When they're busy, they get more stuff done. But I forget where we were at. Actually, we're at South Carolina. I think we were in a hotel. We were playing, and I forget who walked through, and we had like 7 guys They're studying. And then in the fall, we were down playing a tournament in Atlanta. And my guys go study. It's a Friday night. They're studying in the lobby. I go, whoa, okay. It's interesting. And that's Noah, and that's Willie, and that's Jack, and that's them teaching. And then my 3 juniors, really the top juniors that are coming up are great students. But the older ones, if the culture's right, they teach the young ones. So 3.72, and hey, I think we've won the academic, right, for like four semesters in a row or something. But I told the bosses I have not tutored any of those guys. We've developed the culture, but I'm not tutoring them, and I give the credit to the academic office over there. They do good. And also I say, guys, you go to class, you sit in the front row, you're alert, you pay attention, you engage. You're not just hanging out, breathing air, occupying space. You engage, and everybody, if you do that, they won't let you mess up here. It's awesome. It's really good. So I know you've got some questions here for me. You loaded me, folks. He loaded me up with homework before this. Millage, this guy looks like, mild mannered. He loaded me up.
Well, the good news is you've answered a bunch of them with your previous answers, so don't have to worry about skipping over any. Like I said, you've gotten to all these, so we're going to actually go to some of the submitted questions that haven't been answered. One of them is, how many scholarships do you have, and how does that compare to the other schools in the SoCon?
We're at a competitive equal. Sorry, I got to close this door here. I'm in the office. We're at a competitive equal. We're equal as far as that goes. We've got 4.5 scholarships, which since I've been coaching 75, My first year, we had 8. We had 8 full scholarships. And then they cut back to 5. Then when the Title IX stuff kicked in and everything, and we were less, college tennis has been at 4.5 for 35 years. And so that's fine. We're okay. We're okay with that. The hardest thing here at the Citadel is the obvious one. You get tennis players, they're independent minded. They like to have their things their own way. You've got to understand, tennis players have been driven to their tennis lesson multiple times. They've often flown to tennis tournaments multiple times. They've been to all of the rodeos, if you know what I mean. So the point is, they're ready to play tennis, and they think, hey, I'm going on to play tennis, and this is it. But it's the cadet student athlete dynamic, Millage. It is the cadet student athlete. So I usually will ask them, okay, where are we at here in recruiting? And we got a very, very fine player from Arkansas to commit recently. And I asked him initially, where are you at? He said, well, the academics, I want to major in mechanical engineering. Coach, that's a 9-10 for sure. I said, well, where's the tennis? What can we do better with the tennis? He said, Coach, I see what you're building, and I like the culture. The guys are great. You guys work hard. Schedule, by the way. We're able to play the matches we need. That's one of the pieces of the puzzle we have to do. You have to compete. Association breeds assimilation. So we've got 10 ACC, SEC matches, and we've got our conference matches, and then we've got a lot of other matches. I always try to explain to my bosses, you've got a schedule. There's the can't wins, the could wins, the should wins, and the gonna wins. You've got about 4 levels. Everybody knows there's 3, but there's 4 levels really. And the key to winning championships is turning the could wins to should wins. All right. So with that, the recruiting liabilities, you ask about the scholarships. It's the hardest thing is selling them when they come on the cadet part of it, and why that will help them become a championship tennis player. And usually my thing I tell them is, I said, look, you want to be a tennis player? Yeah, Coach, I want to be a world champion tennis player. Okay, great. Now, let's say you're in Uzbekistan by yourself, and you just out 1 year out of school, or no, India is probably a better way, more realistic. A lot of the kids go to India to play. And India, that's a tough place to play. Okay, now if you've been at a school that is easier and doesn't challenge you as much, or have you been at the Citadel for 4 years, which one are you going to be more equipped with and more ready to take on those challenges? So I try to sell that. And I try to sell that, look, you put 4 tough years in here learning how to, it's not just about being in it, you've got to learn chain of command in life. And I use analogies a lot, but really, this is what I really believe. I tell parents usually, look, the whole world is preaching on the outside, you got to be different. You've got to be unique. You've got to do your own thing. On the inside, though, aren't they sort of preaching that we all have to be the same? Don't you believe the same? But on the outside, we preach diversity, but on the inside, preach you the same. What I usually say, and this is, I hope I'm saying this right, and the Citadel people, if you can pick up on this, but I tell them, what you learn at the Citadel is you learn chain of command, that on the outside, you understand chain of command and why some things with chain of command has to be the same. Diversity should happen on the inside. God only made one of you. Okay, one person in the whole world like you. you better be diverse on the inside and have your own thoughts and your beliefs. And I believe that the Citadel teaches that. I absolutely believe that, because they teach this, the things that you need to be, the chain of command that you need to have. It needs to happen on the outside. You've got to fit into society, and you have got to know that there are earned rites of passage. And at the Citadel, I tell the kids, you have earned rites of passage only through time, only through merit. That is unbelievable valuable. It's not because because you hit a better tennis ball. The good Lord gave you that talent. Your job is to develop your skill set. People don't understand the difference between talent and skill set. You're born with the talent that you've been given, but your skill set, you need thousands of repetitions at doing the right thing. As a human being as well, you do the next right thing, regardless of how it feels. And Millage, I don't know, anybody out there think that feelings are the number one thing they worry about at Citadel? I'd think it would be chaotic if you did that. They teach you, no, number one thing is you have a chain of command in life, and especially here. And then guess what? On the inside of you, nobody should change your number one in the world of being you. I don't try to change people's games, their style. If they are an aggressive person and they attack all the time, I don't care if I like grinding more. I teach them how to, I try to teach them to be number one at being who they are. And so that's our challenge in recruiting. You ask about, that's a long answer to our 4.5 scholarships enough? Yes, there are plenty. Our biggest challenge is to get across the fact that the core is absolutely, look, the reason I'm here, and I absolutely love being able to do this at stage in my life, but the reason I'm here is because you have a real chance here. I don't know if you have a real chance to do anything but recruit championships. You see things like, and I brag on Dabo Sweeney. I think he's doing a fantastic job at getting great talent and molding those people as men. From what I don't know him personally, but what I see, I go, whoa, if you see coaches who are doing that in anything, it's a fantastic thing. But there is a thing that you have to have. The conformity comes with your working environment, the people you're with. You basically help others. You're other people centered. You're not self-centered. You're other people centered first. Those things are all taught here. But on the inside of you, be number one in the world of being yourself. So that's
Definitely a great lesson. Coach, we're kind of winding down on time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the floor up to those that are on.
Can you repeat
anybody?
Would you mind repeating the question if I can't? Because again, I got this thing turned up as much as I can. There we go.
Yep.
Okay.
So anybody that wants to ask a question, if you will unmute, if you will ask the question as loudly and clearly as possible and introduce yourself. And if I need to, Coach, I will repeat the question, but we will open it to questions.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I believe Travis Stevens is looking like he's asking, but I haven't heard anything out of it yet.
Okay, nobody's asking.
Can you hear me okay?
Now I can. Yep, there we go.
All right. So glad we put this together. Doing my research, it looks like Coach is a member of 6 Hall of Fames, has written 5 books, so I think he sold himself a little bit short on his intro. What I'm curious is, what does he think led to kind of the turnaround that he mentioned, winning 5 of those last 6 matches? And then I'll go on mute, and I'm also curious to hear how he's keeping the team engaged virtually during this pandemic.
Coach, were you able to get that?
Most of it. How do you turn around the guys from going from losing to winning the tight matches? and then how to keep the players engaged right now, right? Is that correct? Okay. The first part of that question is really a great question. And we all have different ways of doing that. There's an old saying that the harder that you work, the harder it is to surrender. Tennis is an interesting sport. If you can imagine boxing or wrestling, it's very much like that, because when you go one-on-one against another person, you ultimately win because you break the other person's will. Now, winning is a habit, but unfortunately, so is losing. And I will never say anything negative about, anything about the Citadel. I know I'm going to be honest about this, okay? There is an easy thing here that we can do. I take this up with the freshmen when they come in. I said, do not get the Ivy League disclaimer. And they'll say, well, what's that? I said, well, the Ivy League disclaimer is this: wow, the academics are just so hard, we can't be good at tennis too. I preach that, look, you're winning in the classroom, you win with what you're doing every day of your life. Winning, you're gonna figure this out. However, you need to be able to collect your losses, and every time there will be pain. Pain is pain is not the enemy, but the pain, I'm not going to say it engages the brain. The pain is what teaches us. We all know that. We hate it. We hate losing. But I said, you need to learn to hate losing, but never be afraid of it. Now, we've lost a lot. And I know for a fact, and if our bosses are listening, I wanted to thank you for keeping me around during these years, because I've explained, I think if I was 30, a younger man and just trying to make it, I might have bailed out and done something. I might have traveled anywhere, any place to try to just make things happen faster. But I know what happens in the evolution of a team. Players at first, they get beaten badly, and they want to run and hide. But then they learn to stick their nose in the fire again and again and again and again. And pretty soon they get, well, you know what, I'm not afraid anymore. And the way you turn it around to answer the first question is, they basically aren't afraid anymore, but they're not accepting losing. You have to, in tennis, have to get to the place where you almost stick up against the tennis bully. Because tennis is this sport where from the first ball, player on the other side of the net is trying to break your will. Now, when you're used to winning, listen, when it's used to winning, and if the team symmetry is beautiful, if the older guys are winning, they sort of expect it out of you, and it becomes part of the culture. And when you're carrying the lead down the final stretch, you make your free throws and you do the little things well. So that's a great question. And we could write a book on that one. But the basic, here it is. You don't run from the pain. Okay, you don't. And now, along with that, again, in scheduling, I'm trying to get a lot of gonna wins. In other words, you can't win, could win, should win, gonna win. You get a lot of gonna wins. I try to build the confidence up. There's no bad win in tennis. I try to make sure the guys get the reps at winning. Tournaments are the best places. These dual matches, sometimes you don't have a choice of the level. But the point being is that they have to get the reps at winning. And then, or at the end of the season, when we won 5 out of our last 6, the guys were running to the finish line. They weren't stumbling or looking over their shoulder. So that's what you want. And about the virus thing, I told them that no matter how much you work, no matter how much you do, try and prepare, there are things in life that come along that you have no control over at all. And you've got to take whatever is brought to you. And, like Mama used to say, you got lemons, you got to make lemonade somehow. And it was a tough one. We were out in Texas. We were getting ready to play Utah and SMU. And the guys had just won 5 out of 6 matches. And smoke was coming out their ears. They were ready to go. They were ready to go. And then we got shut down. But I told them, look, next right thing. That's what you tell them. Do the next right thing, play to win. Next right thing, play to win. So it's been a tough one. Everybody's ready to go. I got cabin fever. I don't know about you guys, all of you. It's we're ready to go. But so that's a tough one, but you just have to control what you can control. Your circle of influence is everything around you. Your circle of concern is the whole world, maybe, but your influence is just with what is in front of you that moment, at that moment, not yesterday. You know, they say, you know, that's why the windshield's way bigger than the rear view mirror. You try to forget about what's going on yesterday and just take care of what's in front of you, you know. So I hope that sort of answers.
And then, Coach, the second part to his question was, and I'm sure plenty of others are wondering this, how have you kept your current players as well as your recruits engaged during this time when you have to use Zoom calls and you can't do a lot of face-to-face?
The simple answer and then the easy one is they've got to feel like there's somebody coming after them, and they've got to look over their shoulder. In other words, we're not allowed to put stuff on them. The fitness goes without saying. There's a standard of fitness. But with tennis is like playing music. You could maybe miss a day or two, but after 3 days, you know, it starts showing. And you've got to do it a lot. You've got to keep sharp all the time. So basically, I have been sending them out. Every 2 weeks, I'll send out a long email and just say, look, your mile time is going to be this. The competition is going to be this. Guess what, guys? We've got a schedule next year. We're playing Tennessee twice. We got South Carolina twice. We've got Clemson. We got Auburn. We got Georgia Tech. Guys, we gotta be ready. This is the important thing. As a tennis player, you've got to own it. You have got to own it. You've got to engage. And I said before compliance, there's some defiance. But understand, after compliance, you have to go from compliance to a level of commitment to a level that's where your head is engaged. Now, then you have to go to where your heart is engaged, where you have to go from compliance to commitment to being inspired. And then at the highest level, and this is a whole different talk, your RAS, your reticular activating system means you're locked in and you're focused on, you know, it's the law of attraction. When you get focused in on something, you see everything about it. Tennis players have to basically be thinking about tennis in the morning, at night. You know, when you're in the shower, you just, you know, wake it up and you go, whoa, I just had an idea. You know, and you basically are thinking about it all the time and then trying to solve the puzzle. You know, here's I just want to say this to all of you, and I'd never put down other sports. I love every sport, but tennis is the hardest chess match there is because it's a one-on-one combative, and when you lose from the inside out. It's not just about forehands and backhands. It really takes you apart, and you have to deal with where you are, and you have to deal with you have to reconstruct and do the next right thing always. So our players, we're just keeping in touch with them. I call them every other week. For sure, all of them. And they call me or text me too, but I know what they're doing. And unfortunately, no tournaments are going on right now either. So they're having to train at their local clubs. They're having to get games to get train matches together on their own. So luckily, our our sport is a spring sport. So we'll have time, but I have no idea. The people who do the work will come back, and we're going to have 4, maybe 5 guys competing for the #1 spot next year. You know, it's going to be tough, and they all know it. So hopefully, looking over their shoulder will have a lot to do with that.
Awesome. Well, Coach, that's all we have the time for today. I thank everybody for joining us. Next week, we will have head men's basketball coach Duggar Balcom on. Coach Kriese, if you'd like to say goodbye and give everyone one last piece of advice or anything, we will shut this down for the week, and we'll talk to you all later.
Well, I'm going to shut it down here in a second, but you told me the best advice I ever got. Can I give you 3 of them?
Sure thing.
The best ever was my mother. Okay, listen to this. She used to say, son, the world promises you buckets of rhinestones, but God gives you the chance to make one diamond with your life. Huh? Now, y'all going to have to think that impressive. That is powerful. The other one is there's no heavier burden than a great opportunity. In our sport, in any sport, players are more afraid of winning now than they are of losing. And my generation, they were more afraid of losing. Now, I call it the curse of the Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. So there's no heavier burden than a great opportunity. A lot of people now have pretty good lives without laying it all on the line. So to get the last 20% out of people, I try to preach to them all that you've got to go through this door and embrace the responsibility of it all, and the Citadel helps you do that. And I've got about 10 other, but I'm not going to, any of you want to get a hold of me, send me an email, ckriese@citadel.edu. Listen, we represent the best place ever. This is fantastic, and I am honored to serve here every day of my life. And it's a job of service, and it's something that I'm very proud of doing. And I thank you for your service, Millage. Okay. And will you thank your wife again?
Yes, sir. I will make sure she and Miss Cassie both get the message.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I already told my boss, Kathy, I already told her about the job they do over there, so that was fantastic. God bless you all. I've really enjoyed this.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. And everybody have a great rest of your day.